Hi guys, today I'm going to be talking about a trip that I've got planned later on in the year. So I'm going to be talking about my trip along Route 66. So before I go and talk about my actual trip, if you don't know anything about Route 66, it's a road, or was a road in America. It's now kind of not quite all there, but you can still kind of follow the general route these days. It was first kind of officially named in the mid-1920s, and it's been given all sorts of other names other than Route 66. It's called like the Mother Road and things like that. It's basically it starts in Chicago and ends in Los Angeles, and it's 2,440 something miles long. So at some point later on this year, I'm going to be travelling along it for about 4 weeks and I'm going to do a few videos on it, and because I kind of want to show people about how people on the spectrum, kind of cope with holidays, because on the route, because it starts in a busy city and then ends in a busy city, but along the way there's some nice small towns and big towns and other couple of cities along the route. But essentially the Route 66, it starts in Chicago, which is in Illinois, and then it heads through to Missouri, then does a little bit of Kansas, then through Oklahoma, Texas, then New Mexico, Arizona, and then finally California, where we end up in Los Angeles. The thing that kind of got me wanting to do the route is about 13 years ago, roughly. I did a big trip in America where I was there for 70 days, and I travelled around in an organised trip. And along the way we bumped into Route 66 4 times, so I've been to 4 points on it. And in a trip even before that, when I was visiting Grand Canyon, I did a little bit of Route 66 there as well, and it's kind of really ever since then, my first encounter of it, I was like, wouldn't it be really, really cool if we could like go from start to finish? But when you're talking sort of like almost 2,500 miles, it's time and money, and not knowing what to expect along the way, because there's not like huge, it's not a huge sort of tourist destination anymore, really. But it just, the name Route 66, it just kind of it gets something in your head, like this is like a really historic road, and it just has this sort of magic to it. I don't really know how else to say it, but and finally I've been able to get the opportunity to do it, so for the people that are aware of Route 66, there are several different, over time it had different what they call alignments, where because of the change in infrastructure, and over time they needed to go round other places that have got bigger and stuff. So what we're kind of planning on doing is going the kind of general route, and we're going to try and drive on as much of it as we can, but we're not going to kind of stick to a certain era, because otherwise it just gets really complicated, and I don't want to be looking at a map all the time. I want to be kind of like looking out and around everywhere and just absorbing it. So yeah, so basically the way to kind of like follow Route 66 nowadays, if you didn't want to actually go on Route 66 but you wanted to follow the route, it's pretty much I-55 from Chicago, and then I-40 along from Oklahoma into Arizona. But I mean, there are other smaller roads involved as well, but so I mean, our plan is not to necessarily drive all of it on the big interstate roads. We're going to try and, like I say, drive on as much of the old road as we can, because one of the time, I'll just tell you, one of the times we came across Route 66 was we were just driving down. We literally just stopped at a fuel station in the middle of nowhere. We weren't actually driving on Route 66. We were actually going north to south, and we stopped for fuel, and we just suddenly realised, wait a minute, we're actually on Route 66, and it was like, it was a bit like the place, the only way I can describe it is a bit like in the film Cars, which is kind of like loosely, you know, there are sort of like things that kind of like suggest Route 66 in it, and yeah, so you know, seeing that and like the quaintness and like the sort of like old America of it, it just kind of like was, yeah, you know, and that was another point where I was like, yeah, I really want to do this, but like I say, it's just kind of like finding time and the money, and also, you know, you can't really do it on your own. So, you know, as I'm turning 40 this year, I thought perfect time to do it, and I'm gonna bring you guys along with me as well, and see how much fun we can have. So I just thought I'd talk to you guys about that. Probably the next video that I do on this is kind of like, you know, how we're gonna sort of plan the bits of the journey along the way to, you know, so you guys get a rough idea of what we've got in store for you guys when I put the actual trip onto my channel. So anyway, I will see you guys soon. Bye.